No,
I think we have three.
we have all the panelists in.
Abu, please let me know when I should share this screen.
Sure. Can I request all the panelists to turn on their camera, please? Thank you. And please mute yourself. Whenever I will request, then unmute. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for being here in today's session. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are joining us today. And welcome to the session titled that's Climate Change Management in Chattagram Hill Tracts, also in short form known as CHT, and Scopes for Locally Led Adaptation. I am Afsara Mirza, and I will be moderating today's session. I'm currently working as a research officer at ECAD. So why did we pick Chattagram Hill Tract, and specifically, this session? Because Chattagram Hill Tract is situated in the southeastern part of Bangladesh, and it comprises a very unique topography with scenic mountains and plains consisting of vital forest coverage. So it is a major carbon sink for Bangladesh and for us to breathe, where we get our oxygen from. And one of the main things it does is it stabilizes the harmony between nature and people, and is also home to 15 different indigenous communities in Bangladesh. However, climate change is impacting their lives and livelihood by escalating the frequency of erratic rainfall and also causing prolonged drought. So, all this is impacting definitely the agriculture production, and also leaves an impact on the fresh water, causing harm to the entire ecosystem. Hence, to understand the local context, it is important to engage the local communities in the decision-making processes, right? So, but before we do that, we need to enhance the capacities of the local communities and make them ready to really tackle climate change. So one of the major organization, and it's a youth-led organization, it's known as Community Resource Development Center, who has been working for some time at the local level to really work with this indigenous community and making them increasing their adaptive capacity to climate change. Therefore, ECAD and also Community Resource Development Center, also known as in short from CRDC, has tied hands together to bring forward this session. But before I start and introduce the panelists, firstly, I would like to invite Fabio Russo Rosario, who's the program coordinator of our locally led adaptation program, to give an overview of ECAD's work with indigenous communities. Thank you so much.
Hello, can you hear me, Afsara?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Afsara, and dear participants joining us from home and abroad. Very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all. And thank you for joining us today in this session titled as Managing the Impacts of Climate Change in Chattagram Hill Tracts and Scopes for LLA. Well, there is no need to talk about the vulnerability of Bangladesh in terms of climate change and how the country is responding to the changes and in these adverse conditions, and also being a pioneer in adaptation interventions. But our focus today for this session is the Chittagong Hill Tract region, which is situated in the southeastern part of Bangladesh. Well, in terms of when we're talking about climate change, it is observed that most of the focus is gone to other parts of the country. For example, the southern coast, the southwestern coast. When we are talking about climate change, the first thing comes up on our mind is like Chattagram, Sundarban, or even in the How region as well. But what we feel is, and that was also the notion of bringing Chittagong Hill Tracts into this discussion, is this area receives less attention compared to other parts of the country. But this area is unique in geography, and as Afsara has mentioned, it is also enriched in biodiversity, and it is home to more than 15 different indigenous communities living in harmony with the nature. So the impacts of climate change that we have seen over the years, and it's influencing the well-being and the social aspects of these indigenous communities living there. So we from ICAT we had an opportunity to work in the Chittagong Tracts last year, which was supported by UNDP, and we found that the impacts of climate change is quite evident, but there are limited resources and opportunities to work there. So in today's session, we would like to find how the LLA program we can join hands together with CDRC and also like establish the mechanism of LLA to support them and also to minimize their impacts. Well, the cultural practices in Chittagong River, it already supports the local leadership and scaling up the interventions, whatever it is, it's like development and adaptation. But here, what we are trying to do from each end, we need to support these communities, these grassroots organizations to scale up their knowledge on LLA and as well as climate change adaptation. And that's the reason we will hear from our friends joining us from Chittagong Hill Tracts today. So that's all from my end, and we looked out for a successful session today. And we also encourage all of you, all the participants joining us today, to come up with questions and like recommend us how we can take this initiative forward. Thank you, everyone. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Savio, for a brilliant introduction. So let me now introduce the panelists for today, and I would ask them to really turn on their camera. Thank you so much. We have Doki Pru Marma, who's the Assistant Coordinator at Community Resource Development Center. We also have Alpon Chakma. He's a Director of Projects and Research at CRDC. And we also have Lato Ching Marma, who's the CEO and founder of CRDC. So before we start the discussion, I would like to invite Doki Pro Marma to give us a presentation and to really share her insights in a local perspective of the vulnerability of climate change that exists in CHT. Thank you.
Can we just wait for a minute?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Because there is background noise, let's just wait for a minute. Thank you.
Sorry for the noise, but can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can start. Thank you.
Okay. Satuchi Dada, can we please go to the third slide? about Bangladesh? The third slide.
Doki, can I request
Yes.
you to talk about the topic? Just read out the topic for everyone, please. Starting
Okay.
from the first slide.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the floor. So today's topic is managing the impacts of climate change in the Chittagong Hill Tracts. Can we go to the next slide, please?
We cannot see the slides yet.
The next slide.
Abu, turn on your mic.
It's not working. I don't know why. Okay, slide. Is it the slide control? Savio, can you help me out with this?
Sure, I'm on it. Go. Is it visible now?
Yes, we can see it. Can you please make it full screen?
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Dr. You
Okay.
can start. Yeah.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hope you are well. I am now going to discuss the overview of climate change in Chittagong Hill Tracts. Before knowing Chittagong Hill Tracts, we need to know about Bangladesh. So here we can see Bangladesh is located in the northeastern part of South Asia. The constitutional name of Bangladesh is People's Republic of Bangladesh. In terms of population, Bangladesh is the 8th largest country in the world with more than 160 million people. Bangladesh is the most densely polluted country in the world after 6 small islands and city-states. Okay, now we will know about Chittagong Hill Tracts. Chittagong Hill Tracts is an area in the southeastern part of Bangladesh consisting of their district Rangamati, Bandarban and Khagrachari. Geographically and culturally distinct from the rest of the parts of Bangladesh, CST is home to the 13 indigenous communities. In the eyes of tourists, CST look like this, as a dream, like beautiful, but the harsh reality is the next slide, dumping station of Bandarban. You can see the pictures of the dumping station, and here a short clip of the dumping station. Next slide, please. Yeah, it's the video. Yeah, next slide. So the overview of climate change and its impacts in Chittagong Hill Tracts. Next slide. Overview of environmental degradation in the Chittagong Hill Tracts are: CHT is facing rapid environmental degradation over the last few decades. Over the last few decades, temperature has risen significantly in Chittagong Hill Tracts. CHT is losing its biodiversity and its forest cover. The hill streams are drying up. The next slide. Causes of environmental degradation in CHT. First of all, we can see the unplanned development, lack of integration and in development planning, violation of land rights of the indigenous people, land use changes, illegal stone lifting, establishment of brick fields. Next slide. Deforestation also here, timber business, uncontrolled timber extraction, illegal timber plantation. Illegally, timber plantation companies are not only violating indigenous communities' rights, they are also causing serious biodiversity loss by cleaning by natural forest. One thing to know here is what happened to the indigenous people due to rubber industry in Lama. Also here, Jum cultivation as a result of increase of population density in CHT, the traditional way of Jum cultivation has changed drastically. Next slide, please. So there's impact, climate change and its impact in Chittagong Hill Tracts, impact on food and agriculture, less fallow period in Jum cultivation, population pressure, plain cultivation land are captured by the Bengali community, decreasing soil fertility, decreased amount of participation, tag plantation, tobacco cultivation, less crop production. Next slide. Use of chemical fertilizer, insecticides and herbicides, land use changes, introduction of new crop varieties, impact on the ecosystem and biodiversity, loss of biodiversity, forest and water, sink range of community forest, decreasing indigenous species of plant and trees. Next slide, please. Impact on the water resources, change in the pattern and amount of participation. Streams are dying up as a result of temperature rise and deforestation, shortage of drinking water. So that's all. No. Impact on livelihood. Traditional way of farming is facing several challenges. Traditional knowledge of farming is becoming less relevant, less production, economic pressure. People are being forced to change their moods and economy, cash crop, harmful monoculture, increasing natural disaster. So that's all for the overview and impacts from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Prumar. I think that was really helpful how you shed light on the impact that climate change leaves not only on the livelihood, but also on the biodiversity. And this shocking to see that how different dumping sites are used in, like, different dumping sites are being conducted in Bandarbon, even though there is such rich carbon sink that exists there. Now I would like to invite Alpon Chakma, who is the Director of Project and Research at Community Resource Development Center. And he will talk about the customary law that exists and how LLA can fit into it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to thank ICAT and Sabio for arranging this opportunity for us to share our issues with the global audiences. So I will be briefly talking about the customary system of environmental management we have in Chittagong Hill Tracts and the current adaptation practices that are going on, and what the scope for applying LLA in Chittagong Hill Tracts. So first I will focus on the adaptation practices. So adaptation is mainly happening on two sectors in Chittagong Hill Tracts. One sector is the water crisis that my teammate Dokipru briefly touched it about the water crisis, especially during the summer period. So there are some places in Chattagram Hill Tracts in Bandarbon, especially, and in Sajak, that during the summer period, when the hill streams dry up, that people have to walk 5-6 miles to collect water, and it is happening in my area as well, where I live. There is extreme scarcity of water resources during the summer period. So how the people are trying to adapt to these problems? Mainly, they do rainwater harvesting during the monsoon period, and digging of deep tube well and shallow hole, construction of dam in the hill streams, gravity flow system, and water storage tank. And let me tell you, these practices are going on a very small scale. Mainly people who can afford to do these things, financially are practicing these methods, and in few places where NGOs are intervening to make it impact. So in Bandorban or in Rangamati, even in Khagrachuri, some NGOs has established some project to help the local people, but again, the reach is extremely low. Many of the people don't get these opportunities. So the next major impact is of climate change is on the sector of food and agriculture. As a result of change in precipitation pattern and amount, many of the traditional way of cultivation has changed now. People are adapting to new ways of farming. Land use has changed drastically over last few decades because of the traditional way of farming is not giving the output it used to give. People are now shifting to zoom cultivation, to monoculture, like a rubber plantation, perennial trees, fruit trees, thick plantation. And from crop like rice species, rice varieties, to people shifting more to the cash crops like turmeric plantation and ginger. And in some places, the higher yielding varieties are being introduced. Higher yielding varieties of crops are being introduced. And because of this problem, population pressure, shortening fallow period, now many of the indigenous varieties of crops are being lost. They are not being cultivated anymore in the region. Next slide, please. So next, I will be discussing about the problems with the existing development and adaptation practices. So one of the reasons that adaptation development practices, the current practices, are not having to make an impact is the conflicting rule of laws there, the conflict between the national and the traditional laws. So most of the time, what happens is that traditional laws and practices are undermined in development planning. And what now going on is, in especially last 2 decades, tourism has been being promoted extremely in Chattagram Hill Tracts, and without the consent and of the indigenous people. And it's leading to construction of unplanned, structure, buildings, and tourism sites in the instead of the natural sites. So this tourism-based development model, it's actually not benefiting the indigenous communities, the local communities, nor ecologically, nor financially. So the next part is the problems of adaptation. Adaptation is mainly happening on a small scale in Chattagram Hill Tracts. As I mentioned before, only people who are economically capable, they are trying to adapt to the changes. Why the adaptation practices are not being enough, meaningful enough, or not failing to have an impact? Because they lack financial support, they lack capacity, and they lack integration of traditional knowledge in the planning. So the current adaptation practices that the NGOs are trying to intervene in various places, they are not actually empowering the indigenous communities, because the real power shift is not happening. There is still the top-down approach is being practiced, and most of the time indigenous communities, they don't have the power of decision making in Chittagong Hill Tracts. And despite the rapid environmental degradation and in its adverse impact in the livelihood of the local communities, GST always has been neglected of adaptation fund. Next slide, please. So next, I'm going to briefly talk about the customary laws of environmental management. So the traditional power structure in Chittagong Hill Tracts is there are 3 circles in Chittagong Hill Tracts, and the chief of the circle is called the king, and under him there are several mojas, and the headman is the head of a moja. So traditionally, the headman is in charge of distributing land and deciding where to cultivate. Then the Karbari usually does the solve the judicial things in a moja. And traditionally, land and forest resources are managed as a common property. And the local headman, as I mentioned before, he distributes the land, which land to cultivate, which part of the moja is left for future cultivation or as a reserve forest. Next slide, please. So one of the significant features of the traditional way of environmental management is the moja reserve forest that the indigenous communities practice. So the moja reserve forest, it's not monitored or controlled by the forest government, the forest department. It is the initiative of the local people, local leaders, and people that lives in a moja. So they decide who is part of the moja is to keep as a reserve forest. And traditionally, this practice has been contributing a lot to the environmental management and resource preservation in Chittagong Hill Tracts. So next, I'm going to talk about the traditional beliefs that we have towards the natural phenomena and how its role to preserve the nature. So traditionally, indigenous communities, their livelihood is based on nature and natural resources. And because we live so close to the nature, our livelihood, belief system, and how we perceive natural phenomena like forest, hilly stream, rivers, it's matter a lot to the environmental management in the local setting. So I belong to the Chakma community. For example, we have a belief that the forest has a spirit, the rivers has a spirit, so you cannot do any harm to those spirits. And if you harm those, or if you practice such things that goes against the nature, you are supposed to be sick physically, or bad luck is going to happen to you or your family. So there are a lot of rituals based on these things, that the worshipping the spirit of the forest or the spirit of the river. So this traditional belief system is not incorporated when policy is being made. Mainly on a small scale, traditional laws are being included, but this aspect of traditional belief system is totally ignored when it comes to planning or implementing the environmental projects. Next slide, please. Next, I'm going to talk about scope for LLA in Chittagong Hill Tracts. So, as I told before, as I discussed before, that the reason the projects or the limited amount of planning that goes on in Chittagong Hill Tracts, those are not having a meaningful impact is because of the lack of integration of traditional knowledge, values, and traditional beliefs. So how LLA can help in this respect, how LLA can bridge the gap here. So strengthening the local institutions is one of the main aspects. The traditional management system and grassroots organization, they need to be empowered and strengthened. Investing in local capabilities. There are organizations like CRDC and the traditional system that we have. There are enough manpower in the grassroots level to carry out projects or planning, but because of financial shortage or shortage of resources, this project cannot, this local organization cannot make their move, cannot involve themselves in the planning and implementation. Integrating the traditional laws, values, and beliefs, as I said, how we perceive nature, how we perceive the natural phenomena, and what is our traditional laws, our traditional practices is very important. Mobilizing adaptation fund in different sectors. As mentioned before, adaptation funds, in terms of adaptation funds, CST has been always neglected. So in terms of water management, conservation, food and agriculture, even knowledge dissemination, all these things, all these sectors require funding to work in the local region. Capacity building through engaging and mobilizing the local youth. Now in Chittagong Hill Tracts, local youths are capable of making a change. So if they have enough opportunities of resources and funding, they can make a huge difference and lead the way for the future generation. Building support network with different stakeholders. Different stakeholders have to come together to make change happen in Chittagong Hill Tracts. Stakeholders like government organizations, the organization they are existing in Chittagong Hill Tracts now, and various groups and organizations like ICAT, and ensuring meaningful and effective participation of the indigenous communities. So mainly what happens is in the projects in Chattagram Hill Tracts, indigenous communities, they fail to participate. I have worked in a evaluation of a project in Bandorban, and I have seen there that in the areas where the Bengalis are living, they are having a better impact in terms of agricultural adaptation, water management. But indigenous communities, they are failing to participate. So in those areas where indigenous people communities are living, they are the NGOs and projects, they are not really having a meaningful impact because of lack of participation, and lack of participation comes from the lack of integration of traditional knowledge and values. Next slide, please. As I mentioned before, we already have a traditional structure that is quite capable of preserving the nature and adapting to the changes if given the resources and the capacity. So with the existing traditional power structure is suited to apply LLA there, because you don't have to force or make a structure to apply LLA in Chittagong Hill Tracts. All is needed is to empower the local institutions and give them the necessary support. So if LLA is applied in Chittagong Hill Tracts, indigenous communities will have more governing power, set their own priorities of development and adaptation. And finally, ensuring necessary adaptation fund, and most importantly, power of governance of the indigenous communities is necessary to make GSTN environmentally sustainable and resilient region. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alponda. I think it was so insightful. And some of the major points that I want to highlight is the challenges that you talked about, right? That less funding is there and development processes are not integrating the existing customary and traditional laws or the governing system that already exists. And one of the things that I really enjoyed learning was the mode of forest management, right? That how you control the forest with your local leadership. One of the words that you highlighted most often is leadership. And that is what we want to promote at ECAD, right? The third word, the second word, locally led adaptation. We want local leaders to take forward conservation activities that really upholds biodiversity. And the last point that you mentioned, that, you know, in order to harness locally led adaptation, we can use the existing traditional customary law that's in place already to really take forward the conservation agenda, but also, you know, mobilize fund for different adaptation strategies that you mentioned that already local communities are doing related to water and also agriculture. But one of the things that you mentioned also struck with me is the knowledge dissemination, right? Because even though we have such enriched knowledge on indigenous people and what's happening in Chittagong Hill Tract, but this is not disseminated to capacitate the local community. So thank you so much. I think it was a really good discussion. Now I would like to invite La Toching Marma, who's the founder and CEO of CRDC, and he will talk about the existing work that CRDC is doing. Thank you. And it would be great if you can keep it a little bit short so that we have time for question and answer. Thank you.
I get it. I was going to ask you about this actually. Yeah. So, Savio, are you going to present the slides?
Okay, is it the same one that I presented before? The same one?
Yeah, the same one.
Okay, sure. Is it visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay.
So first of all, I would like to thank ECAD and the organizing team and Savio especially for giving us the opportunity to participate in this Gavashana conference. So I'm Lathoy Ching Marma, and I would also like to thank Doki Pru and Alpun for presenting it wonderfully. So can you go to the the slide I'm going to talk? Yeah. I hope that after this presentation, we will have time to talk about, and we have friends from Chittagong Hill Tracts, and we have team members who have joined in this session. I would also thank them all for joining us today. I hope that they will have time to share their thoughts as well. So you have already heard about CRDC. CRDC is Community Resource Development Center. So our vision is to build a community that embraces diversity and provide opportunities for all of its residents. And the mission of CRDC is to empower the people of local communities, give access to quality resources, and provide support to become self-reliant and thriving members of the community. That's our vision and mission. And we have two platforms under this umbrella organization, CRDC, Kabalung and Helping Hands. Kabalung is mostly focused on environment and climate change issues. And Helping Hands is mostly social work, like in education. And also if any situation arises like COVID-19, then we use the platform to support the communities. We worked extensively in the COVID-19. We worked in Chittagong division. I mean, we worked in Chittagong city and also Bandurban and 3-4 areas, supporting food, then health and hygiene, education. We are hoping that we will be working with using the Helping Hands platform in education sector in the future. So Kabalung is the idea of Kabalung is that to develop a learning hub for enhancing adaptive capacity of local communities in Bangladesh. So we have a different vision for Kabalung. The vision is we live responsibly in a healthy environment that is valued and protected by all. And the mission of the Kabalung is to protect, improve, and restore environment by enhancing adaptive capacity of the local communities, promoting traditional knowledge and locally led adaptation, providing capacity development trainings and access to scientific knowledge. Let's go to the next slide, please. Yeah. So this is our team for now. All of the team members are youths and they're working. Some of us are working in different organizations and some of us are still students, but all of us are from Chittagong Hill, from different areas of Chittagong Hill Tracts and have huge potentials, every team members, and they're all connected to different youth organizations and aware of the challenges that we're facing relating to climate change issues in Chittagong Hill Tracts. Can you go to the next slide, please? Sorry about this. So through this platform, Kabalung, we won a grant, catalytic grant. The project title of the project title was Kabalung, a learning hub for enhancing adaptive capacity of local communities in Bangladesh. It's actually indigenous communities in Bangladesh. So the objective of the project was to establish a climate learning hub for Marma children and their families. We only focused on Marma children because we had limited time, and also when we started the project, it was already it was the time of COVID-19 and we couldn't intervene in. We wanted to work with other educational institutions as well, but we only had to work with one institution because of the challenges that we had. So the other objective was to enhance indigenous community resilience through training and building a knowledge base on climate change and adaptation. Some of the methodologies that we used to implement the project was discussion sessions with adults, youths, and children. We had several discussion sessions with adults and also youths and children to find out information there, to understand their understanding and then to design the learning modules for children. After that, after designing the learning modules, we provided trainings to the facilitators who were teachers of the institution we worked with. Then we also organized learning sessions after the training for the children. After when we completed the learning sessions, we organized a drawing and writing activity. About 100 students participated in this activity, and what they mostly did was they tried to express their understanding of climate change, their experiences of climate change impact in their area through drawing and writing activity. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so these 4 of us were the project team members, me, then Dauki Pru, Iktikharul Islam sir from IUB, then Faisal Rahman, as most of you might know him, a postdoctoral researcher. So like this, we want to engage with other organizations, other scholars, to enrich ourselves and also to make so that we can make a bigger impact in our work, through our work. So this is the discussion sessions and group activity. Through the discussion sessions, we tried to bring out their understanding of the climate change. So they worked as a group and presented through posters. The first and second picture in the on the top. Then the third picture is we were having a discussion with adults. We were having a discussion with the parents of the children. And you can see the fourth picture as well, the group discussion. And this is the only 2 pictures I have selected, 2 drawings I've selected from the drawing activity. I have, there are a lot of drawings the children did, and all of them are so meaningful. I think you will be able to understand when you look at the pictures, what they tried to mean. So that's all the presentation. What I would like to say is I couldn't include here all the activities that we did from Community Resource Development Center. We are also supporting, not as a project, but the only project we worked is the catalytic grant that we received. But other than that, we collected funds through Facebook posts from different individuals, and with that fund, we supported different institutions in managing water resources. Like one of the institution called Runglan Tharba in Thanchi, Bandarban district, they were facing water scarcity. They didn't have drinking water resources, so we collected funds together and we digged well for them, and they have drinking water resources now. Same to Moitri Children Home, we also established deep tube well at Moitri Children Home as well. So like this, we actually want to support the indigenous communities of Chittagong Hill Tracts as they're facing challenges and they're suffering from climate change issues in the area that Alpon mentioned in his presentation, and also Dr. Pro. So that's all from my side now. If we have opportunities, I think we'll be able to talk more in the discussion session. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Latu Chingmarma. I think that was really helpful, and it was great to know that, through your two platforms, Helping Hands and Kabalong, that you're trying to really hone the existing capacities of the very young, I would say, youth, but at the same time, you're working alongside with them to increase their knowledge on climate change and really make them suitable for taking their own leadership roles so that they can protect their communities from the impacts of climate change. Now I would like to go to the last bit of our session, and we have 10 more minutes. If anyone from the audience, if you have any questions, we would be happy to take them and revert it to the three panelists that you just listened from. So the floor is open, so please feel free to ask any questions that is relevant.
Can I request Uting if
Yes,
you have
Celine.
any, if Uting has anything to share with us?
Okay, we already have one hand raised. Let's listen from her, and then we can take the next question. Yes, Celine.
Yes, sorry, La. Yeah, but it was a great presentation again. It's always a pleasure listening to all of you from the Chittagong Mountains. So mine is both a question and an inquiry, like a reflection of the point that you made on building capacity, building organizational resilience, getting the community to, because there are such difficult political issues of land grabbing and outsiders coming and taking over your land. And there's a level of, you can fight back, and after a while it becomes really, really difficult because of the way they go on putting poison in your water and doing different things, right? So my point is, how do we build our organizational resilience so that we become really able to counter these forces? So one of the ideas that I'm thinking, because of my own experience with slum dwellers, is it possible to get the mountain communities from all over Bangladesh together? So it's not just your organization, but can we get other mountain communities facing similar issues to come together, to discuss, to engage, to talk outside of Gobeshana through the year? So you're not just meeting from event to event, but you're actually building that organizational resilience. And then once you all are feeling strong, maybe you can extend to mountain communities in the region, in South Asia. Like, remember, we had the Nepal mountain communities and other mountain communities. So is it possible for you to slowly build that momentum? Because when you have that political voice, your ability to put pressure on your government and other governments will be much stronger. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Celine. I think that was really helpful. And I feel like what you highlighted, that, building organizational capabilities, that is the most important, with the help of the local government and other stakeholders. Thank you. Okay, I can see
Abu, are you
another.
going to answer?
I think
I can
yes,
see.
Alpon, you speak first.
Okay. So in terms of the outside supports, building a network, if we get opportunities like this to talk about our issues in platforms, in international platform like this, and there is the possibility to build a network system if we can contact the right people internationally. And in terms of the local setting in Chattagram Hill Tracts, there is still a lot of work need to be done. As I said, there are many organizations, not many, but couple of organizations working with environmental issues right now in Chattagram Hill Tracts. But again, they lack, capacity, resources. So it is difficult to reach all the people, all the communities in Chittagong Hill Tracts. What we are doing as a team is to, we as an organization still have a long way to go, but we are trying to bring these stakeholders together, indigenous organization and government organization, and even the NGOs, international NGOs working in the Chittagong Hill Tracts. So hopefully we will be able to make a strong network soon and make an impact.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's really helpful. We have another question in the chat. Someone asks that what could be possible solution to aggressive, to the aggressive action that various companies are taking to build resorts in Chittagong Hill Tract. So what could a solution be, if anyone from the panelists can answer that?
Well, the possible solution is to, recognize the local traditional rule of law and not violating them. Because we have been trying to talk about these issues, not only us, various indigenous organizations, people who work with human rights and environmental rights. We have been trying to speak about these things, but things are not changing. So what is needed really is the shift in power to the management, to the local people, local indigenous people, and strengthening the institution, local institution, and government have to. The government of Bangladesh have to be more sympathetic and need to recognize the local differences. Otherwise, because it is, we know how these things are happening, it is being forced by different sources. So it is very difficult to stop it. It is very difficult to stop it. Various stakeholders have to come together to stop building this kind of constructions. Or
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that is really helpful.
Can I add a
Yeah,
bit?
sure. Sure.
Yeah, so we are not, the people of the Chittagong Hill Tracts are not actually against it, against tourism or anything. The problem is that Alphon talked about it. They don't include with the beneficiary system the indigenous people don't get benefit from the projects that they do, the tourism projects and the structures they make, but rather they lose their lands and everything. That's why actually we are against it. So otherwise we are not. And I just wanted to point out what Celine talked about. Thank you so much for the question and for the suggestion that you have made. But as Alphon said, that we have still a long way to go. Where the forces that we have in Chittagong Hill Tracts are still they are so strong, and we cannot do actually in this stage of our organization, we cannot do anything about it. But what we can do is, by not saying, just directly not saying against them, we can work remotely, like solving the environmental and climate change issues that we have. And also we can, as Celine said, slowly we can build up our capacity, and then maybe in the future we can fight back maybe. Yeah, that's the hope. Thank you so much.
Sure. I think that's really helpful. Thank you so much for those answers. And any more other questions that anyone wants to ask? Okay, if not, then I have one more last question, which is that, and this will wrap up the whole discussion. And I just wanted to ask, and anyone from you can
Celine
answer.
raised her hand again. Yeah.
Okay.
I will defer to Afsara first. Only if there is time, I will give a reaction. No need otherwise, Afsara.
Okay, sure. Okay, then just last one more question. Sorry, Celine, I think we're running out of time. But I just wanted to ask that, since this is a youth-led organization, and how do you think that youth can play a greater role in terms of integrating the 8 principles of locally led adaptation? Like, what can be a future strategy that can be used by youth in that area in Chittagong Hill Tract?
Alpon, you can go first.
Okay, as I mentioned before in my presentation, we really have a capable, youth in Chittagong Hill Tracts right now who are so knowledgeable about these issues and impacts of climate change. What we can do is we can mobilize more, like we are doing on a small scale. But again, the financial support, outside support is needed to make things happen, make things progress in terms of say adaptation or even environmental management in Chittagong Hill Tracts. So many of these youth are not getting the platforms to work. If they are given a strong platform to work, I think there will be a much greater impact that the youth can make in Chittagong Hill Tracts.
Thank you. And
Abu, you can add.
No, I think we don't have much time, but there is a question. I think we didn't recognize the question.
sure, you can answer from the sure. Yeah.
That's the question. But
okay, and what?
yeah.
So we have a couple of questions in the chat box as well. One question that came up is that who's the biggest supporter of resort building in this area? And I think that is already answered. But another question that came up is that nowadays we can see the community leaders who are supposed to conserve the natural resources are being sold out to the outsiders. Why do you think this is happening, and what solution do you offer to that?
Yeah, so about the being sold out, this is happening as a result of not giving enough power of governance to the local institution, say headmen or karbaris. There are some cases in Chittagong Hill Tracts that the headmen and karbaris, they are responsible for selling land to build tourist places or selling trees, timber from forest illegally. These things are happening because the local institution have very little role to play in the planning and implementation. So what they do, they try to take the opportunities individually, whatever opportunities they are getting, sometime utilizing the system against the own people. So for me, if this thing will stop, if the local institution are given priority in terms of planning and implementation.
Sure, we have one more raised hand. Shraddha sir, do you want to come in?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Afsara, and thank you for the presenters. You have presented very nicely about your regional issues, and you have mentioned of the local adaptation issues here, but I think there are some other issues also need to incorporate in your presentation. You have mentioned the problems. Most of the problems are environmental management problems. But that's not really the climate change related problem. You need to specify what are the climate change related problems. The climate change is global issues. What are the global issues of like the increased temperature? What increased temperature affect your crops and livelihood and local resources, and how you adapt this? You did not mention this. You have mentioned the most of the local traditional coping mechanism. That's not the adaptation. The adaptation, I think you need to read the adaptation documents from the scientific literature and build your capacity so that it will be nice for you. And if you can make a long-term strategy to build capacity of the youth. You have mentioned that you target the youth, that would be good. They can learn on the climate change issues, like the climate change terminology, adaptation, mitigation, loss, and many things are there. But then it will be better for your region. So my suggestion is that there are a large number of students who are studying in the college and universities. If you can build a network among them and arrange a long strategy, arrange a plan for capacity building on the climate change issue or environmental management, ecosystem-based adaptation, many things. And then I think you can contribute more and more for your region to make your adaptation is effective. And also you need to, at the same time, you need to build capacity of the local government, not only the youth and yourself. If you can make capacity of the local government, then you cannot make a link with them. And you need to build a network from the from household to local leaders and the local communities and the government officials, all across the society. You need to make a network so that you can make more contribution, more effective strategies for adaptation and better help for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think this was a really good question and answer session with also really great feedback from Shraddha sir and also Celine. I would really like to thank the three panelists, Doki Pro Marma, Alpon Chakma, and also Lato Ching Marma for your time and for attending the session and sharing all of your work that you're doing with the local community in terms of honing their leadership. Some of the great points that came out of this session is that to use the existing governance structure that exists in the indigenous communities to harness the 8 principles of locally led adaptation to increase their governance, but at the same time, also give them the power to really take up the adaptation strategies that resonates with their own local context. And in terms of getting feedback, I think one of the good feedback that we got is that to work a little bit harder with different stakeholders, such as the local governing bodies, but also with different local institutions, so that climate change adaptation can be engraved into the local development planning. And also one of the points that came up is to develop a long-term strategy for capacity building of local communities, so that adaptation planning processes are more viable and can mobilize fund with the help of youth leadership. So thank you so much for all of your time. I can see Dr. Hawk also joined the session. So thank you, everyone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Sir, would you like to add anything? Sure, sir.
Yes, so I've been listening to the call. I had other things at the same time, so I wasn't able to join fully. Thank you all very much for this very interesting session. One of the things that we hope to do going forward is to enhance our learning and monitoring of locally led adaptation, particularly all 8 principles of locally led adaptation, and track them and find indicators for them. And the experience that you have had in the Hill Tracts would be very valuable, I think, because you're ahead of the game in this area. And we hope to be able to follow up with you going forward after the Convention conference is over. So please do stay in touch with us and we will follow up with you. And thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hawk, and thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining the session. It was a really good session. We learned lots. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shafiqul sir, and everyone. And so on.
Yeah. I just want to ask everyone to turn on their cameras so that we can get a picture of them.
The 2 minutes.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I believe everyone's cameras turned on, and let me get a picture. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining.
সাকিব ভাই কেমন আছেন? লিভ নিলাম তাহলে।
Thank you. Sorry, আমাদের এখানে সব সেশনের স্পিকার অন থাকে তো we keep it on mute. But thank you for the session.
Thank you, Baya.
থ্যাংক ইউ ভাইয়া।
Nice to see you.
Thank you, everybody.